Okay. Welcome, everybody. Really exciting. First of all, who is this their first event at NYU AD Institutes? Okay, nice. Who is this their first event at Afikra? Tamam. Okay. So basically, this is our first event here. This is Afikra's first event here at NYU Abu Dhabi Institute. We're really, really excited. Inshallah, this is going to be the first of many. The idea of the institutes, as far as I can tell, is creating a public forum to sort of engage with the public on topics that are really exciting, both in the academy and also just in the public sphere. And it's creating an open space free to the public to really engage with practitioners who are experts in their fields, whether they're talking about genomics, or they're talking about medieval literature, or they're talking about pop culture. And this event fits in with that idea. Afikra, if you are new to us, if you don't follow us, hayb alek, really, get your priorities in order. Please follow us immediately. Afikra is an organization that's dedicated to creating intellectual curiosity around the history and culture of the Arab world and building a community of folks who do that work together. So this is very much part of it. Everything that we do is really driven by community and by curiosity. So hopefully all of you can ask questions and really challenge this idea that we are talking about today. We care about contribution, we care about interest, we care about community, we care about curiosity, and above all, we care about kindness. So please, if you have something to say it kindly and generously. Don't just keep it to yourself. Share with everybody else so that we can all learn together. We started very much as a grassroots organization, have now grown all over the world, and so we host events like this all over the place. And I'm just going to keep on going. We publish all of our stuff on podcasts and YouTube and in our magazine that comes out every single month. We're a bunch of nerds that like the Arab world. If you're a nerd that likes the Arab world, you should check us out online. Really, really cool stuff. Okay. Today's topic. First of all, I want to start with this question. Will the UAE be the capital of Arab pop culture over the next decade? So, it's a question, has a question mark. I want to ask you all that question. So please, pull out your phones. Please vote. Will the UAE be the capital of Arab pop culture over the next 10 years? Use your QR codes. This is anonymous, no judgment. First thing that you probably are curious about. It will show live immediately, yeah. So I'm not showing it live right now because I don't want to influence people. But vote, and then it will thumbs up. Are you guys getting this? Is this showing up? Amazing. That's a good question. That's a good question. OK, let's see the results. I think once you vote, the results will come in. Aha, interesting. OK. OK, so we have something to start with. Now let's ask a secondary question for a little more information. Where is the current capital of Arab pop culture? On the screen, just for the sake of brevity, I put Jordan, Egypt, Lebanon, Morocco, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and other. Also anonymous. Current capital. It's like one of those races that you see on Instagram. OK. Is this also just like a demographic of the audience? Passport holders? OK. OK, cool. Excellent. So just looking at this again, this is where we're at 54-46. And mostly Egypt. Okay, so that gives us a sense. So let's start with our panel, and we'll come back to these questions at the end. Okay, so pop culture largely can be defined in many ways, but I'm going to focus today on music and film and TV. We have two industry stalwarts. We have Gianluca Chakra, who is CEO of Front Row Filmed Entertainment. We'll learn more about Front Row in a second. And Rawan Al-Dabbas from IFPI MENA, Regional Director. I have a really hard time. Dyslexia is tough with me. Please give it up for both of them. Come on up. I will move out of the way. Tfaddalu, wherever you want to sit. Okay, we can do better than that. Let's give it up further. Yes, bravo, bravo. Oh, excellent, excellent. Okay. All right, so first of all,
I'm wearing the same clothes, I'm sorry.
Yeah. He looks like his photo. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, let's start with maybe just like introducing your organizations so that they don't just sound like a bunch of syllables. So let's start with you for a second. What does Front Row do? So somebody like me sees you from abroad and like they work in the film industry. What does that actually mean? What does Front Row do?
Well, what we do, we start off as film distribution, so we acquire independent films mainly from the West, and then redistribute these in the Middle East. And we've been doing that for 22 years. And the last 4-5 years, we started producing, given the landscape and given how the business is changing. We were kind of, the sort of natural progression. So yeah, we distribute across the Middle East, and now we produce, and also got timidly into a talent management company, because we believe that there are a lot of voices that need to be heard, and there's an industry to build over here. So yeah.
Okay. In general, I would assume that you're bullish on TV and film from the Middle East, insofar as you're dedicating your career to it.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So you're an optimist in that thing. IFPMI. Did I get it right?
IFPI.
IFPI.
Is this working?
Yeah.
Okay. So in short, IFPI is actually the federation, the global federation that represents the recording industry. So that's an easier way of putting it. It's about 200 years old, hence the use of the word phonographic for a long time. But in short, I always like to use this comparison because it makes it easier. We're like the FIFA of the recording industry. So we're the global federation of the music recording industry.
What does a federation do? So FIFA organizes the World Cup. What do you guys actually do?
So basically, exactly. So it's a membership organization. We have over 8,000 members. Our objectives are to represent the interests of the recording industry. So spanning from releasing global music revenues and data as the most official and trusted source globally, lobbying for governments to build the proper licensing systems for artists to be able to get paid and remunerated for the work that they put out there. We also have music charts, so we have also the official music charts. Since we've opened the MENA office here, which in 2022, we've released 5 Arabic music charts. And the first one, actually, one of them is quite unique because it was the first ever global regional chart. So we have the MENA chart. And then we expanded in the next year to an Egypt music chart, Saudi music chart, UAE, and North Africa. We also work very closely with governments again in tackling piracy. So as a representative of our labels globally, we work to facilitate and bring down the timing during which the pirated material is taken offline. As you know, a leak from a music album can cause an artist to lose millions within minutes, let alone hours and days. So a lot of our work as well has to do with improving those systems across and my job is to do it across the region. We do it, of course, globally. And I think that's pretty much basically what we do. And then, represent the interests of the record labels. So ensure that they get value for their money, which equals a successful artist career. So even though in theory our members are the labels, at the heart of our work is the artist, and making sure that they get paid rightfully and transparently for what they do.
Okay, let's start with the thesis, or the question being asked. So right now, if somebody said to you, where does Arab pop culture come from? How would you sort of define that? Do you think about it in terms of where the ideas are created? Do you think about it as in where they are consumed, where the profits go, where the funding comes from? How do you think about it?
It depends. You just can't. That's like, the UAE is the cap. It doesn't work. In my opinion, it doesn't work like that. So it depends on. I work in film and hopefully TV soon. But it depends what you want to tackle. And each culture has a different angle of pop, which you and I probably can't understand. And I'm thinking Saudi, for example.
Yeah.
We're getting now to know that region, and it's a completely different world. I've been living here for 22 years. It took me a while to understand the local culture. You start hanging out with them, you understand that in a lot of ways that could be referred to as pop. In another way, the Lebanese might not see that. So it really depends. The cool thing is that we're in the center of pretty much everything, and now you get to kind of distinguish the value of each pop culture depending on the region or depending on the country. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, because it's basically pushing back on the idea that there is no Arab pop culture. It's just only regional.
I mean, I think pop culture in general comes with, openness. In a lot of ways, you can't be open in this part of the world. You can't. So the pop culture that I like, and if you want to relate it to the region, and not because I'm partly Lebanese, but it would come out of there. In a lot of ways, also Egypt. I think now there is it's boiling. There's an underground movement that is awesome. It is going to boom if it's given that chance. So yeah, it really depends. And the same thing in Saudi. I get to know people, and also over there, there's an insane culture, but I'm still learning over there. I still don't know that culture. I don't. So yeah.
Can you guys hear us? Yeah. Okay. Rawan, the same question for you, because I'm curious in music. Music travels easier. It's easy for me to be really interested in Algerian music, but not watch Algerian film. Is there Arab pop music that really travels everywhere and resonates in ways that maybe film and TV doesn't?
Look, we're definitely seeing it. I think, my answer is a bit different to Gianluca's specifically because, music it's become so global, and the amount of music being consumed globally by people on different platforms, the interconnectedness. If you look at those videos they do on it's TikTok, I think, or Snapchat, where someone goes in and they start a song and then someone else from another country. So you're absolutely right. Music travels. In terms of pop culture itself, and now I'm talking only from the sort of, I'm talking from the consumer sort of side, so the fans and the consumers of music. I think pop culture is what there's a generational definition of what pop culture is what is pop when it comes to music. And then you also have the regional differences and the country ones. But with the globalization of music and how easily accessible music is these days, we're seeing music transcend those bridges. And I think we've seen it this year, for example, with someone like Eliana touring with Coldplay, or seeing someone like Saint Laurent really, mixing up the sort of beats, whether it's taking in traditional sounds and mixing them with some Latin. So that already is proof that it is a thing. So there is a growth in pop culture. However, You know, we talk about this,
Are
and then
those
you look
songs popular in the Arab world, though?
again, for the generation that is not ours, it is. Now, what these people are listening to and the popular, because it's also the pop culture in this region, I think, is still at that stage where it's like the not hippie, I don't want to say hippie, but it's like the underground pop scene.
Sure.
Right? Maybe. And in my view, you asked, you know, at the beginning, you asked, what is the role of everyone else, like in the ecosystem? Like, is it just, you know, the people who are listening to the music, or is it also the role of I don't know, the governments, or that everyone plays a role? Because with a healthy ecosystem, a healthy music ecosystem, that's where you, as an artist, get the real support and investment and growth. And to give a small example, look at K-pop. I mean, K-pop has literally become a product, like, that has been invested in not just by the you know, the music industry in Korea, but the whole ecosystem. It's an export at the moment. So from my side, and you know, from the work that IFPI does in the region, we look at a properly established legal framework. You know, where artists are, you know, where artists' music is getting played, and they're being able to get remunerated fairly for it, is a big part of allowing them to sustain these careers. Because yeah, sure, you could get a pop song from Eliana and Saint Levant that, you know, 2 days, 3 days, a week, a month, but if there's no investment from the ecosystem, it's not going to last so far as to take it into
this is all very new, though, right?
Culture.
This is all because in the past, I mean, as far as I know, like you'd contract with someone, and that's it. It was like, well, we sold these many DVDs, end of story, goodbye. You know, and they didn't really have rights, and they couldn't even. Yeah,
but I mean, remember some decades ago when they thought, like, with piracy and physical, like, people thought, you know, the music industry was not worth investing in anymore. And look at how it sort of re-established itself. So I think, you know, having an open mind, investment from record labels, I think, and the government as well, investment in proper enforcement and legal frameworks, and you know, supporting these artists is what will really create, or what could potentially create, a pop culture that we can definitively answer to.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the report. There was a very influential, well-cited report that IFPI published like 2 months ago or a month ago, that described the Arab world, or the MENA music market, being the fastest growing, I think, for the 4th year or 3rd year in a row, something like that.
Twice in 4 years.
Twice in 4 years. How do you measure growth? Is it number of artists, number of songs, number of plays, profitability? How do you measure growth?
Right. So the Global Music Report looks at the global revenues from across the world, and in every country or in every region, you have different channels of revenues, right? So revenues can be physical revenue sales, they can be streaming revenues, they can be performance rights revenues, it can even be, I don't know, merch, if you want. So these are the elements that will really build up the picture of what revenue is, what is country X's global revenue. In the MENA region, we, you know, I don't like to speak negatively, but we still lack a lot of data. Yeah. And since I've joined here in 2022, this has really sort of started with the data that MENA's growth is at the moment based on streaming data. So when we say it's the fastest growing region, it's because, not to undermine that, it says a lot about how people are engaging with music and how much they're consuming it. But again, this is streaming, strictly speaking.
Sorry to cut you off. It's also as a percentage of last year's streaming. So it's on a percentage basis, not on raw basis, on absolute basis. It's on a percentage of last year. So my hair
No,
grows.
no.
No. Okay, so help me.
no. There are formulas like this.
Okay.
There's a lot of work that goes into it.
Okay.
And a lot of this work is investment by the labels who want this data, and this of our member labels, and this in turn changes the ecosystem. I mean, I remember when the first report came out a few years ago. Suddenly, like, you know, everyone was like, whoa, like they took this number was really significant to them, and it was driving investment. You know,
So where is that investment going? Like literally?
Into the whole ecosystem. I mean, you know, from my end, what IFPI is investing a lot of its time in ensuring the right legal frameworks are in place. We're launching tomorrow the first music collecting society, royalties for publishers and producers. This is something that in the last 30 years has not been able to happen had it not been for the investment of the labels and the artists. And in the ecosystem. So I think we're at a very exciting moment because everything's happening so quick. It'll take some time to sort of take a bird's eye view and be like, whoa, that growth. But I think right now we're like in the middle of it. And, you know, in the next few years, once this, you know, collecting society, say, is up and running, you'll see revenues coming back as well to the artists from, you know, from public places, and there's an educational element to that.
Yeah.
Because as well in our region, you still have that mentality of music should be free, film should be free.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so the work that we do here is key, is key to maintaining and, you know, holding the industry together so that it's able to continue its growth.
Yeah.
I'm curious, I mean, I keep on harping on the geography a little bit and like where things are going, because I'm curious about like where the industry actually sits. Because we're talking about industry at the end of the day, right? So it's like, if somebody says, I want to break into country music, it's like, go to Nashville.
Right.
If I want to break into whatever, a lot of times they sit somewhere. And I'm curious where these industries sit.
What do you mean, sorry, by industry? Like, sorry, can you?
Let's say, in this case, if somebody's like a burgeoning filmmaker, right? And they're 22 years old, they come to you, they really are talented. They're like oozing talent, they're dripping talent, right? They're Jordanian, they are Tunisian, they're Bahraini, they're Emirati, they're Kuwaiti, whatever. And they come to you, they're like, man, you've been in the game 20 years. I want to build my career. Where should I go?
It's, okay, I think, like Rawan said, I mean, it's all changing, and it's changing fast. Maybe faster in music because you would access directly platforms. You know, it's not that you have gatekeepers. You know, you don't have that. In my line of business, unfortunately, there's still a lot of that. So, like you said, you know, if you have that young artist who, the new Wes Anderson, right? And there are potential Wes Andersons. He'll get shot down in 3 seconds over here. It's like, well, you know, because they still have the mentality of, if I have to do something, it has to be only for the masses. And what makes it even worse is that each territory is different, you know, and the value of each territory determines the budget, or if anything would ever get made from that specific country. So, like now, Saudi is the most requested just because of their purchasing power. It's expanding, it's growing. They're trying to change the whole industry, blah, 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 right? So obviously all the attention is over there, but the know-how is not there. There's a lot of great ideas, but still not at the level of Egypt. But then again, Egypt now is struggling. So it's a constant battle. So the struggle to me on my side is sort of to convince the eventual partners that you can start targeting you know, specific content to specific people and grow a new audience. So we're still at that stage where, you know, it's us and a few other companies that are pushing to sort of move that needle, because to me it like reached sort of a plateau where it can only grow if you give it that chance. You need innovation, you know, in every single sector. Yeah. And that's where you see like, okay, that didn't work, but this one worked. And this is how it works, you know. But right now, everyone's concentrated on 1 or 2 territories, and that's it. Which which handicaps the industry. It does. However, I believe very much in this new model that we are currently investing in, which is AVOD, which is the advertising video on demand, which is the YouTube, which is the Vimeo. In the US, you're starting to see, the platforms that, at a lower tier price, you will get a Netflix or an Amazon, but you're gonna have to watch it with ads, which is what Hulu started at the beginning, right? So now it's shifting all onto YouTube, onto Vimeo. There's a great app in the US that started off 5-6 years ago called Tubi. Yeah. So their model is advertising video on demand, but to a point where what Netflix, for example, used to pay on an average small $1 million, $1.5 million action, those VOD, straight to VOD titles, they'd have thousands of those and they stopped buying them. However, a platform like Tubi would basically generate over 2, maybe 3 times the price that a Netflix was ready to pay just out of advertising. So you're creating now a new industry. They're now doing originals, and there are a lot more platforms like this that are opening. And I think that would be the answer to a lot. It's still quite low, from what I understand. The CPMs are quite low. But all of this is going to change,
Yeah, when you think about distribution, right? So you're like, you're looking for films to buy or directors to support, projects to support, talent to represent. Are you thinking about broad reach across the Arab world, or you're looking hyper-local?
No.
What are you thinking?
So what I acquire is, my tastes, right? So yeah, it's I start off very much with art house, the foreign films, but then you got to buy the more commercial films to support those, and at the same time, it's like, you want to distribute your City of Gods, but you have to buy then the bigger sort of titles. Either these are the titles that you would eventually pay more, and that's your mainstream film, right? But on the smaller films or on the more artsy sort of films, it's how you negotiate. Exactly what the value is. Sometimes you'll risk it, sometimes you just don't, and it really depends. But it's like we've built a model that's quite sustainable, and now we understand how it works. So yeah.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. All right. So I don't know if you both know, or everybody has heard of this adage, this old adage of Egypt writes, Lebanon prints, Iraq reads. Do you remember? Have you ever heard of that?
No, repeat. Yeah. No, what?
Yeah.
This is like an old saying that they used to say like 50 years ago. Egypt writes, Lebanon prints. And they were talking about the newspaper industry and the literature, right? And Iraq reads. So if we wanted to talk about this...
I have no idea.
Have you heard this? Yeah. Okay. All right. If we were to talk about this from film or music, who writes, who produces, and who consumes in the Arab world?
I think, look, by the way, just fun fact, I was in the book industry before I went into the music industry. Excellent. So I'm a living witness to this. I don't think it's very much different, Egypt is always going to be, in my eyes, like Egypt and even Lebanon to an extent, like, they're going to always be the hubs of creation and creativity and, exporting all the sort of art from there. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but, whether it's film or music. Now, economies change, geopolitics change, the circumstances change. So artists from our end are, whether we're talking geographically or what they're actually producing, or how they manage their businesses. So things have changed. Artists now think, we don't want to go with the big labels. We can do it by ourselves. I can, produce an album in 10 minutes, and therefore I don't need, 5 other people telling me what to do and how to do it. But also, the labels have now, you know, when we talk about like the majors in my industry or yours, even, you know, the majors have also changed the products that they offer to the artist before. So back in the day, it was, you know, purely managing the artist, and now it's options. You just want to distribute, fine. You want us to just do the marketing, so more of a service-based. They're offering more services, let's say, as labels, and at the same time, the artists, and I've seen this time and time again, in due time they realize they cannot do it on their own, if you know, because it hinges on their creativity. Because as an artist, you just want to create.
Yeah.
You want to you want your talent to be used and abused, and the last thing you want to do is to sit down and design your album cover or, you know, market it and that. So again, it's an interesting time. Egypt, we still, I mean, if anyone follows our charts, you'll see the amount of like mahraganat have gotten so big, like in the last few years, despite the fact that, you know, Egypt was not having its strongest economic moment. The music that's coming out of Morocco, insane stuff. And traditionally, specifically in the case, for example, of North Africa, you'd only hear that music come out of France, because there was not a lot of investment from, you know, from major players, let's say, in the industry in that region. And that has now changed. If you look at all the major labels have now, you know, have offices.
Are they based here, though?
Sorry.
The major labels. So like
Here,
if you
but also in Morocco.
Okay.
Also in Morocco. So, you know, your question was, you know, what does the artist do, or, you know, the actor? Follow the money. Go see where they're going to invest in you, whether the country has the right framework, whether it has. Again, I'm not, you know, I'm not an artist myself, so it's easier for me to say follow the. I don't mean it in a cynical sort of, I mean, like, you know, go where you're going to get invested in, because, you know, Hussein Al-Jasmi is based here and sings in an Egyptian dialect. And,
this is what I
you
want
know,
to get to.
and look at him. He almost feels like he's an Egyptian artist.
But this is precisely what I want to get to. So the idea of like where the ideas come from, where are they produced, and where they listen, who listens. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like, where are the audiences? Let's start in the backwards. Where are the audiences? Who are the biggest markets?
It's Saudi now.
Okay.
Obviously.
Definitely Saudi and the UAE. I think probably.
Yeah,
the middle one, where is all the money coming from? Who's producing this stuff? Who's distributing? Where are the platforms? All that stuff. So
in my industry, it's two things. So when it comes to film, so Egypt was an industry that was dying, basically, right? They only had one model, which was, let's produce a film in 6 months. Like, this is how it works. You develop, produce, and release all in 6 months. It became a business. Which was very much dependent on two things, mainly the Gulf. So people would buy the rights. At the time, they would divide the rights. So it would be theatrical rights, so cinema, and then they would go to the NBCs and want to sell like the other rights, the Rotanas, right? But because there was no system in place, like they would actually sell the whole IP, like everything in perpetuity. Fine, take it, you know, and they didn't care. It was like, okay, let's move on to the next. Yeah. And that's how it became like a business, and that's how eventually it kind of died in Egypt. You know, it was dying. That's it. Up until then, the Saudi market opened up and it revived it all. If it weren't for that market, Egypt would have really crumbled. But now it's at a stage that so the streamers obviously are going to follow where the subscribers are. So in this case, it's like Saudi. Saudi content is still a hit and miss. Again, they just started, right? So they depend very much on Egypt, although they would not like to admit that, but it's the truth. You know, the highest grossing titles right now are I mean, a year theatrically, you have, I think, 40, 45 Arab-speaking or local language titles, and they represent 38% of the box office in Saudi, just 45 titles versus the 440 that are released. Yeah. So you see that major studio business is just going down. You'll have like the You'll have like the occasional film that now is the Top Guns of the situations, but no longer, there's a Marvel fatigue now. The studios are kind of struggling and that's all over the world. It's just because they can't really adapt to what people want right now.
But Arabic titles are doing fine.
Yes, if they come out of Egypt, but it's still very much star-driven, and then you have, the occasional local Saudi title that works only in Saudi. But it's so expensive to produce over there that it's risky because it just doesn't travel. Outside of Saudi, it's just way too local. So still, the Hollywood of the Middle East is Egypt, and that's going to change just because, the whole industry hinges on 10, 20 talent, that's it. It's the same names. And now these guys are old, and now, the 50-year-old is playing a 30-year-old. It's becoming ridiculous, And it's literally, it's literally like that. So now it's like, this is why I was saying, like, in these countries, like there is an underground society that's like just ready to boom, it's there.
Okay. Amazing.
And the same thing in Saudi, by the way. And ideally is trying to get everybody to sort of collaborate because of the subscription drive right now. It's like you risk to kill most of other countries, or it's the cinema that comes out of other countries.
Rawan, one last question for you. Then we're going to do a bunch of rapid fire stuff and open up to the audience.
Not built for that kind of stuff, Mikey.
Yeah. Okay. Last question. Who benefits most from the growth that you're describing in this report? So the growth of music in the Arab world, who's benefiting the most? The creators, the investors, the audiences, the broader ecosystem of like institutions, the platforms. Who do you think is benefiting the most?
I think the whole ecosystem. I cannot tell you who benefits the most. Obviously, hopefully the artist, because the artist and the creator is at the heart of this industry, but so does the economy. There are some studies, will not quote numbers, but there are some studies on, the amount how music affects the GDP. There was, what was that running joke the other day? The Taylor Swift sort of, percentage on the U.S. GDP. It's true. Music is a big part of all industries as well. It crosses with film. Sync music, for example, is a big part of, as a big revenue for some artists. The government also benefits because they can be proud of an ecosystem where they protect their artists, they treat them fairly. The investors benefit because they can come here confidently and comfortably and take risks and really invest in the local talent as well. In the past as well, there's been especially with sort of what we call the majors, the Hollywoods and the Universals, and they'd come to the region and set up office, but all the while they're not looking at making any revenue here because the revenue is coming in from there. So how much they were really going to invest in the region, was it worth their time? Now things are changing. Look at how correct me if I'm wrong, but the film, the Hollywood investment in sort of Saudi and probably, I don't know, again, the details, but I can see there being investment in more Arab actors the same way.
It's an industry that you build. Really, it's an open field right now. I think in the very near future there's going to be a lot of consolidations because this market needs a shakeup. It's there. Everybody's looking at the market. You need to comfort the West and like, guys, come. But in that way, like you're going to have to, build a valid industry to present itself as a safe bet for, the West, and we're still not there. The UAE is getting there. It's the more developed in terms of they've been doing it now for 20 years. It started off, which was quite pitiful, and now it's like really it's getting there. It's developed a niche. It's developed a reputation, and which is still not there, for example, in Saudi. It's a massive country, and everything is very much slow over there. They'll just throw money at it versus they've done that here. now they've learned their lesson, and there's a finesse to it now, and it's really shaping up, and I think it's a great opportunity. But I really think it's about really getting the whole Middle East together to create a proper industry, and it's going to take a while, but yeah.
Okay, let's do some rapid fire stuff. So I don't, Gianluca.
Okay.
Best Arab TV series or movie of all time?
Arab movie of all time. Damn. It's.
Rapid.
I don't know. I don't know. A Nadine Labaki film. I can't think of anything else.
Okay, Nadine Labaki. Thank you.
Right.
Series? That was my.
Yeah, underrated pop artist or band?
Ooh, Jordan has a lot of underrated rock bands. So I love Autostrad. I love 47 Soul.
Autostrad. Favorite actor or actress, director, not Nadine Labaki?
Yeah, of course not. No. Damn it. Favorite actor. I don't know. Benedict Cumberbatch. No.
Okay. I sent these beforehand. They're failing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Song that is the blueprint for a viral pop Arab hit.
Like it could be an old one.
Yeah.
Like Habibi ya Noor
Bravo.
Right, okay.
Okay, for both of you, city with the coolest underrated creative scene right now.
Amman, definitely.
I have to agree. I never thought. I have to agree.
Interesting. Okay, let's open up to questions. I think there's a mic.